Joe Rogan may have just lost some friends in the MAGA movement after speaking out on his podcast against the Trump administration's brand new immigration policies, including the implementation of ICE in cities like Chicago and Portland. Joe Rogan had a interview with Duncan Trussell on his podcast just the other day, where the topic of immigration came up. We're going to go ahead and play this clip. We have many other topics on this stream as well, including Joey Diaz explaining why he's never going to move to Texas to join the comedy scene out there, the development of the new Canadian censorship bills, and Disturbed's latest concert also being canceled in Israel due to, my apologies, their concert in Belgium being canceled due to David Draymond's ties to Israel. These are all the topics we're going to take a look at today. So let's kick things off with Joe Rogan. We're going to jump right into it. This is his clip speaking on the ICE immigration policies. Let's take a listen.
Let's just talk about the immigration thing. The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt. Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid. They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico. And they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish.
So there we have it. Joe Rogan speaking on Trump's ICE immigration policies on the new episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. So a couple things to unpack here with this clip. The first thing is I got to give Joe Rogan a little bit of credit in this scenario because Joe is one of those guys whose opinion will adapt based on new information. I've always respected this about Joe. You know, as much as he is partisan in many of his opinions, he's not partisan in the sense that he's so loyal to whichever party he represents that he's never going to go against them or never change his mind on anything. And that to me is one of the most poisonous elements of modern day politics, especially in America, the tribalism of each different party. People identify so much with being a Republican or being a Democrat that they become so tribal they can't see past their party's own bullshit, of which every party is going to have. I don't care what movement it is. I don't care what figurehead or what politician. There will always be some bullshit involved at the top level coming down. A lot of people can't accept that. A lot of people can't admit that about the party and the movement that they support. Joe, on the other hand, he seems to go where things are making the most sense to him at the time. And we've seen him sort of go back and forth with this issue. We've seen him go back and forth in similar ways about, you know, conspiracies, the moon landing. For years he said we never landed on the moon. Now he claims that we did after sitting down and talking with people. But regardless of what you think of his actual opinions and the substance of his takes, the fact that he's willing to adapt his opinion based on new information is something that I can certainly respect. The next thing I want to take a look at is just how these immigration deportations are really playing out in America. And I think the way that Joe Rogan summed it up is pretty on the nose. You know, looking at it from outside of America, we're about to have an American actually in Chicago call in to the stream to give us his take. I'm going to interview him about ICE's presence in Chicago in just a couple of minutes. But as an international citizen on the outside, I agree with Joe about the perception this is giving to America. It is, you know, when you watch these videos, when you see the people being taken out, and I am talking about the people who have lived there for 20 years and they've never actually committed crimes after entering illegally. Obviously, it's not legal to be in a country without the proper visas. But I'm talking about people who ended up in the United States. They have not gone on to live a life of crime, and they're living relatively normal lives. When you watch those videos and hear those stories about people getting removed from the United States who are in that scenario, it doesn't hit the same way that you would think that it would have. You know, I am very much in favor of keeping any country safe. I think borders are a very important part of any country. I think that, you know, passports, border systems, immigration systems, visas, these things were all invented for a reason. You know, if we have long-standing systems, chances are there's a reason they were invented, and there's a great necessity to have them. So I believe in that. I believe in the legal process. I don't think we should have, you know, drug kingpins in the United States and criminals and, you know, drugs coming in, cartels. I agree with all of that. But when you start going after the individuals who are not leading a life of crime after that initial act, many of those people who, like Joe said, may not have even chosen to be in the United States illegally. Maybe they were born there. Maybe they were brought in at a very young age. They don't identify with the culture back in their home country. They don't even speak the language back in their home country. When you're putting equal emphasis on those people as you are on the drug cartel kingpins and the violent criminals and the offenders, that just doesn't look very good on, you know, on the international stage. But the other thing is, it sort of disempowers the argument that Trump's administration had for this in the first place. If the argument is to go after the violent criminals, go after those people who are running cartels and bringing drugs and crime into the country, of which I'm sure there are many, you should probably be focusing on that more so than focusing on just getting each and every person out of the country who's there illegally. Because what it does when you're taking out people who live relatively normal lives, who are not putting a target on their back by committing crimes in the United States and are actually productive members of society in most cases, what it does is, like I say, it erodes your argument for why you're doing this, which is to keep the violent criminals out. But also what it does is it empowers the other side, because we're dealing with two extremes right now. The one extreme is the open borders crowd who says, look, there should be no borders. You're on stolen land anyway. This isn't even your land. Everybody should be allowed in. Everybody's welcome. No enforcement. That's the extreme on the one side on the left. But now the right has gone to their own extreme. And it went from, look, we just want sensible policies. We don't care about, you know, every single person. We just don't want drug dealers and criminal organizations thriving in our country, which I think, you know, any reasonable person can get behind that. I don't, you know, and again, I say reasonable because we're talking about people outside of the extremes. Open borders is not a reasonable line of thinking because there's a reason for all of these systems that are in place. But the middle ground where you say, look, we need something in place to go and detain these people who we know are committing crimes, who we know are doing all these things in the country illegally, that's just a common sense perspective. Again, I don't really see the argument against that. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want that for your country. But when we push it past that point, when we push it past the point of just targeting those individuals, and on top of that, there's people getting swept up in the mix who are actually U.S. citizens, people who have not even come in illegally. There's been a number of people swept up in the mix who shouldn't really be in the mix of these ICE detentions. So I think that, at least for me, again, this is just from the outside looking in, it started off strong with the concept that we need to get the evil people who have come in out. I agree with that. But when we're getting into not having due process for people, we're getting into taking innocent people who shouldn't even be detained. We're taking school teachers out of the classroom who've lived here for 25 years and, you know, they're members of their community, they're productive members of society. Even though the border system is messed up and they may have come in illegally and things, you know, wires got crossed, I do agree that there should be a different method of handling that situation than there should be with the drug kingpins. When you're treating the gardener and the leader of a cartel the same, that's off to me. Like, I don't think this is a one-size-fits-all approach. I think the approach should be more nuanced than that. And there needs to be an emphasis on due process. And of course, the last thing is this that's worth mentioning. If there is the erosion of due process and a fair trial and all these things in the United States, again, this is top down. It's going to start here, but this will inevitably start eroding the rights of actual American citizens. If we're setting the precedence that, look, we don't need due process, we can arrest whoever we want, it doesn't matter what the policies are about stop and ID, stop and frisk, these new legislations, we're coming to get you, whether you like it or not. If we start setting that as the standard, at least to me, I think that's super dangerous for the actual people who were born and raised in America, because then we start to erode their rights, we start to erode their freedoms, and it really starts to interfere with what makes America such a great country. You know, at least we have the idea that America is a country of law and order. It's a country of freedom. It's a country of due process. Maybe that's not true, but at least I feel like we should be striving for that to be true. We should be aiming for that to be true and sort of trying to put ourselves in position to conduct ourselves that way. So Joe Rogan speaking out about the ICE raids and the situations going on all across America. We do have a caller, which we're going to get in touch with now, to talk about these ICE detention centers and everything going on. So let's see if we can get our caller on the line now. We're going to do a shot in the dark and just call him. Mario J. Bell.
It is.
How we doing today, sir?
We're doing all right. How about Cassius? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. For everybody who's watching and listening, our caller, Mario J. Bell, of course, the host of Bell and Company out in Chicago on the radio. Appreciate you making some time, man, calling in from Chicago this evening. So,
sure.
A lot to talk about. Obviously ICE has rolled into the city. How many days now has it been? Maybe I should have done my homework on this, but how many days are we looking at since ICE came into Chicago, roughly?
Well, from what I'm following, it's been a few months. I mean, it seems like it's been a more intense, in terms of the now there's like protests and there's been some confrontations where people have been arrested and hurt. That's more recent here in the last month. But as far as I know, they've been here since President Trump came into office. He started sending ICE all over the country, not just Chicago.
Okay, so this was implemented when he first won, but now we're starting to see the ramped up presence of them.
Exactly.
Okay, in Chicago. So as a resident of the city, do you feel like there's more of a presence of them now? Like, do you feel them more and see them more in the city, or does it feel similar to when they were in there before?
I see them on the highway traveling in there. Like I guess they're ICE. As far as I know, they are. They're like unmarked black big SUVs, or like I wouldn't call them tanks, but like SWAT teams use the same type of vehicles. So I've seen those. But then now just recently, I saw like the tan looking ones, and that's usually the military, whether it's the National Guard that was supposed to come from Texas. I'm not sure, but I have seen them. The answer is yes, I've seen them. But what I've definitely seen more of, especially near the facility where the ICE officers are working just outside of Chicago, by the way. It's in a near west suburb called Broadview is where I think they're mostly based right now. And that's where you see the police presence, like the county police and even some city of Chicago police.
Now, in your sort of perception, what is the reaction to this increased presence of ICE and National Guard in the city? Does it seem to be welcomed by the people? Because I've heard a very polarizing reaction. I've heard people saying it's making them feel safer, but I've also heard people saying it's making them question, am I even in America? This doesn't feel like my country. What say you?
I'm divided. I really am, because I feel like I was listening a little bit, by the way, and what I caught you even saying is, we need like two separate types of levels of enforcement. Like there's the criminals that we don't want. There's drug dealers we don't want. There's the cartel leaders that are here, the kingpins of the gangs, as you were referring to them. That's something you don't want in any city, in any country, right? In any state, in our country, at least in USA. And it just seems like, and you said it too, it's like, wow, we've definitely, now we're coming to blows with people, with protesters. I mean, that has, to get back to that has definitely been something that's ramped up more here in the last couple of weeks. In fact, I know somebody who I won't name, because I don't think he wants to be named, who actually made it on TV. They were doing interviews. I think it was CNN, and then locally ABC and Fox, the local Fox channel and ABC channel here in Chicago, had him on, and he's like, I'm ready, and he's just, he had like a little, I think the reason I interviewed him was he had like a shield he made out of wood, and he looked like he was ready to go to blows, so I guess there's some people that are really, really upset. I don't know if I would myself want to go protest, but like I said, I'm divided. Do I want drug dealers here? Do I want criminals on the street? Because the west side of Chicago and the far south side of Chicago, and even the far southeast side, are known for high crime and drug dealing and just a lot of things that aren't good. And it actually drove a lot of people out of those neighborhoods. So that I don't like. But do I want a guy like you said, who's the gardener or the school teacher or the aide, and's been here probably on a visa that expired? Now they're taking them out as well. I'm not happy about that. I agree with you there. But am I afraid of the fact that the president of the United States wants to bring in the National Guard? I'm not sure. I think we need something. Maybe that was the next level. But here, the reason he's doing it is because these cities, the heads of the cities and the local areas like the county and even the state governors, are opposed to having any troops or anything. They don't even want the police, the local police, helping out with ICE. They don't even want ICE. So it's like we kind of got to find a middle ground somewhere, I think. But it is a little bit alarming, to finish my point about, or to answer the question, it is a little bit alarming that we do have to call in the National Guard to help out. Why didn't we do that when we had our riots back in 2000, 19 and 20, during the COVID time, and people were all upset and, they were burning cities? Why didn't we do it back then? That's what surprised me.
Well, that's definitely a good question. So, a lot to unpack there. I guess as a citizen born and raised in Chicago, I would want to get your perspective on the safety level. We're hearing Trump say that DC is safe now, Chicago is safe now, to levels that they've never been. Do you feel like the city is safer for actual, legal residents of Chicago, or are you guys not quite there yet, do you think?
I don't go into the areas that are supposedly heavy crime areas or gang infested areas, so I honestly can't answer that. But when I go down to the north side where Wrigley Field is, for people who know Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Chicago Cubs are in the playoffs. Go Cubs! But when I go over there, I don't feel like my safety is at risk. But there are shootings over there. There are robberies over there. There are stabbings over there. I mean, it happens all around the city. We're a big city. We're the third largest. At least I think we're still the third largest in the United States of America. And things are going to happen. So no, the answer is I don't feel unsafe going to certain areas that are, I guess, more well policed and well monitored. But if you go to the far south side, as I mentioned earlier, or the southeast side or the west side, there are a lot of areas that are probably not safe to be in at certain points of the day. I'll be honest. And I went to high school right there, right on the edge of the west side. My high school, it's called Fenwick High School, private Roman Catholic run school from the Archdiocese of Chicago. And we had people from all over. We had people from the west side coming to school. But that didn't mean I wanted to go over there and go play sports or walk there after school, or especially at night. I wouldn't go to those areas, I'll be honest.
So, do you feel like ICE is actually handling the crime that's already existing in Chicago? Because like you're saying, crime has been a big issue in Chicago, especially in certain parts of the cities. The vast majority of those people doing the crime are not illegal immigrants. I mean, most of them are American citizens. Has that sort of started to curb, or do you feel like ICE is not as focused on the domestic crime and they're just focused on catching people who shouldn't be in the country?
I thought the purpose of having this big ICE enforcement push after President Trump was sworn in was to help curb the drug violence and just violence in general, gang violence, just crime in general. I don't know how it turned out to be like they're getting rid of certain ethnic groups, or certain nationalities, however you want to refer to it. I don't know why it's happening like that, but it sure is something that's happening. A guy that worked for our family business, his sister had some issues, and I think she's fine now. But they did come to round up people that we actually are associated with. I don't know them personally, but like I said, they're people that work for us. Their family. So it is to me. I don't know. I feel like where was ICE for the last 50 years or 100 years or whatever? I don't understand why it had to be such a big priority now. But am I opposed to their purpose? Not really. I just feel like they're getting a little bit more like they're the Gestapo, or they're the the gangs now. So am I opposed to having them here all together? No, but I think we need to get them to be a little more civil with their enforcement. Like they'll literally go grab somebody, and without notice. They've knocked on doors and grabbed people. I'm like, wow, this is getting a little bit out of hand. But am I opposed to ICE in general? No, absolutely not.
Now, you mentioned the protesting as well. How is the protesting affecting the city? Is it a situation where the city's big enough that you can just avoid it? Or, do you end up walking past these protests or seeing them, and does it have a big ripple effect on other areas as well?
It definitely closes down the area where they're located. I mean, they have barricades. I mentioned to you off the phone, offline here with the show, that I actually was in that area to get for some reason they're selling fuel around here in Chicago area right at this gas station that's like not even a mile from the area where the protesters are. Like it was like really cheap, especially for Chicago. Anyway, so I'm driving to get off the highway. You go right past this area, but you can't turn down that street. It's all blocked off. So in the area where they protest, they definitely have a police presence and they block it off. But other than that, you can get around. They didn't block off the highways or anything, or like Michigan Avenue and Lakeshore Drive, or DeSable Lakeshore Drive in Chicago.
Okay, so it's manageable, but you can start to feel the presence of this going on in the city. And that's sort of my concern. Like, as we continue to progress in this, and maybe you could give me your 2 cents, I mean, where are we going with this? Is there just going to be more and more control and more protests? And I guess to add to the question, how do you feel that this is going to affect American citizens? Right now, there's a lot of focus on how it's affecting people there illegally. And I think we're starting to neglect how this is going to affect Americans and their rights. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, if you ask I have a co-host on the show I do, Bell and Company, with Mario J. Bell and Libby. Libby feels like it's. I think I referenced it earlier. It's like the Gestapo, the old Nazi, enforcement group that was out there during World War II and before World War II even. That's what she thinks we're getting at, or we're already here. That even people not involved with any kind of criminal activity could get picked up because the president and the National Guard and the ICE forces feel like they're a threat for some reason. Something they said on social media, something they did when they went to a group like there's a lot of political action committees, a lot of political groups, especially in Chicago. So Libby thinks that we're going to get to the point where we're not even going to be able to leave our house. We'll be locked down, or maybe put in those detainment camps that ICE uses already. So I don't feel that way. I don't think it's that extreme, but I am alarmed because, I'm born and raised here. I have citizenship. If I go somewhere where they don't like the event, is ICE going to pick everybody up? I don't know. I haven't experienced it yet. I hope I never do. But there are more protests. I will say that. Now, my theory on that is maybe some of it is from some political groups to try to get more attention to this and get the National Guard not to be here and get ICE to leave. But I don't know. We'll see. Right now the protests are only in like 2 spots. Is it going to grow? Maybe. You see, well, maybe you don't remember 4 years ago, the protest ended up turning into like riots where they were burning down businesses, and that was everywhere. That was like in almost every large city in the USA.
Exactly.
So are we going that way? I hope not.
No, for sure. Just a couple more questions, Mario, and I appreciate the insight. For anybody just joining, we're talking to radio host Mario J. Bell out of Chicago, speaking on the ICE presence within the city and everything that's been happening. So, about Trump's legacy and the way that he's being viewed, how do you think this is impacting him? Because we're hearing a lot of people who even voted for Trump, just like Joe Rogan and people who helped him win, that have been very, very critical about the way this has been handled. Do you think this is actually going to hurt Trump and sort of diminish his base? And, I mean, do you think he cares, or does he not have anything to really fight for anymore? He's already the president again.
I think President Trump had always had his way about him, kind of being almost an arrogance, definitely a big confidence that what he says and what he feels is what is right for America. After he was shot at, it was like a big deal during the campaign that Jesus and God are on his side. So I think President Trump is going to do what President Trump wants. I mean, there's executive orders in this country. We are fighting them. By the way, there was I think the National Guard had to stop deploying because there's a federal judge that tried to stop it or did order it stopped temporarily. So, I mean, he's going to order things and he's going to do what he wants, and whether or not we react to it negatively, I don't know if it matters with him, because like you just said, this is it. This is his last term. Now, does he want his vice president to run? Does he want his son to run? Other allies to run? Yeah, I'm sure he does. But honestly, I feel like he's going to do what he wants, whether we complain about it or not. Even the people who are quote unquote the Trump supporter MAGA crowd, I think he's going to listen to them a little bit, but still do what President Trump wants to do, no matter what. So he'll probably still, want the ICE out there and maybe figure out a way to get around the judge that ruled that he can't bring him to Chicago right now.
So do you think that this could impact maybe J.D. Vance becoming president then?
Well, it sounds like J.D. Vance, our Vice President Vance, feels very similar views and thoughts as President Trump. Now, I can't 100% back that. I've never sat and talked with him, not even like during a campaign event or anything, because I'm central, or what do you want to call it, middle of the road. I do usually vote with the Libertarians and the Republicans, but that doesn't mean that I can't get along with the other side, because technically we have like 4 or 5 political parties in the USA. You just don't hear about them. You only hear Democrat, Republican, the left-right paradigm. So I guess I lean more conservatively, and I don't know where Vance is going to be. I think at this point he's going right along with what President Trump says and does.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the case, although I always hear rumblings that J.D. Vance is somehow more conservative than Trump, or maybe even more extreme in his agenda. There's also the ties to Peter Thiel and, all of that. So is that concerning to you at all?
Thiel.
Yeah.
I was going to say there is a tie-in there with what Peter Thiel's intentions are, his agenda is, and he actually had a lot to do with social media forming. So I'm just kind of waiting to see. I know, like I said, I don't like that it's getting to the point where we have to have protests and maybe even riots. In fact, today a WGN producer was arrested, and WGN's a big station, used to be called a super station.
In Chicago.
But they're based in Chicago.
Okay.
And, the rumor was she threw some things and she was swearing and getting kind of rough with ICE. But I'm thinking, well, how did she get rough with ICE? She's standing there reporting or taking notes, whatever. But then again, I mean, you're there as a reporter. You really probably shouldn't participate. You're supposed to be the innocent bystander and be the reporter. So again, it seems like everything I say to you, I'm like torn on. I want ICE here, but I don't want them to go crazy. I like that we have the ability to protest, but I don't like when they get forceful and people have to be arrested. So there you go. Do I like President Trump and President Vance trying to keep us, Vice President Vance trying to keep us safe? Of course. But what is really going on? What's the underlying agenda? And if you listen to Libby and a lot of people, especially most Democrats in the U.S., they're saying it's President Trump trying to be like Russia. So
right.
I don't feel that way, but maybe it could happen. I mean, he technically could. I forget what the Powers Act is, but he could have the National Guard come in and be like the federal troops and like the U.S. Army go into all these cities if he really wanted to. So I don't know. I hope he doesn't, but we'll see, I guess.
Are you fearful of the future of the country at all, or I mean, I know there's a lot of fortune-telling type questions here. I know neither of us can predict the future, but are you concerned about the way the country's going right now as an American?
Well, I used to be very active in politics, and I got a lot of people elected. Actually, a lot of them were moderates. They were Democrats and Republican. I was what they call a precinct committeeman out here in my county because I'm just outside of Chicago in Cook County. I'm actually in a city that's near where the protests and the riot, well, not riots, they were protests, are. And I feel like right now I feel okay, and the economy's still kind of chugging along. But I think if we have like inflation starts going back up again, and we have some kind of recession, I think a lot of people are going to start feeling like we're not safe, and the future is not bright. But that's at this point, no, I feel like we're fine, and we'll get through this, and we'll figure out a way to get ICE to be maybe a little more civil with people, and not try to, like what happened today with the reporter. I don't think they had to get forceful with her, but they did, and it was all over the news. They made sure, the news media made sure they covered that for sure. And, things could get weird, like in the 1960s and even 1970s here in the USA. But right now, no, I don't think it's that bad, and I feel okay. I feel safe still.
Well, very valuable insight here directly from Chicago. This is Mario J. Bell. Mario, thanks for coming on, man. We'll have to do it again. And where can people find you? I know you have the show going. You have an online presence as well. Feel free to plug away.
Sure. Well, I have somebody helping me that you know pretty well,
Great guy.
and I got it set up now so you can find my clips. And actually, I was going to go do some clips of the protest, but I didn't have a chance to go over there today. So I want to do one about that. But I'm doing all these little short clips. You can find me Mario J. Bell. That's Mario, the letter J, Bell. All you got to do is type it in on a search on YouTube and TikTok, and I'm definitely coming up. And I've got a bunch of funny little clips that I put up there. But I also have a show. I have a radio show and a podcast, and that's on in LA on KCAA, and on in Atlanta on WXKG. And that's on in the middle of the night, though, on Sundays. And then I've got the podcast I'm doing on Saturday and Sundays. But I'm actually taking a little break for taking care of some personal stuff, and I'm going out of town. So I'm taking a break for a couple weeks. But come November, I'm going to ramp up probably more advertising, and then be on Saturday and Sundays. I believe it's going to be 6 o'clock Central on a podcast, and then obviously the radio stations at night.
Make sure to go and check him out, Mario J. Bell, all across the internet and, of course, on the radio. Mario, thank you so much for the insight, man. I can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me on. I had kind of an eyewitness perspective for you.
That's right. We're breaking new ground every day.
Thanks for having me. Take care, Cassius.
Thanks, Mario. Mario J. Bell, everybody, radio host in Chicago, calling in to give a little bit of context about ICE's presence in the city, whether it's safer, whether it's not. So really eye-opening to hear from somebody who's actually there on the ground. It sounds like they're not there yet, and I think the perspective that we got from Mario was very important. Yes, we can tackle the immigration issue. Yes, there are criminals who are not supposed to be in the United States who need to be out of the United States. However, the vast majority of the crime happening in America is actually happening from American citizens. So that, I think, is one of the things that we need to look at. Yes, there are select illegal people who are criminals. That's incredibly accurate. But we can't forget all the crime, all the shootings happening in the south side of Chicago. Now, this is my words, not Mario's. I'm piggybacking on what he said. We can't just forget about all the crime that is actually happening domestically within the country from people who were born and raised there. So look, I mean, it sounds like everybody from all across the aisle, whether it's the left or the right, feels like ICE needs to chill out. Feels like ICE needs to take it down a notch because it is kind of scary. Chat, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of ICE? I'm sure there's Americans in the chat. Do you guys think this is called for? Do you guys think this is a good look for the new America? Or do you guys feel like this is setting back the country? I feel like this is setting back the country. That's going to be my official position on this. And it's taken me a little while to reach this point. But truly, you can get the illegal people out who are committing crime and running cartels and running drugs without doing this. That's my official stance on it. Let's read a couple of comments. I see, nope, ICE is not being aggressive enough. Really, Sonny? ICE isn't being now that's an interesting perspective. Gabriel says, nope, ICE needs to go to job sites. Guys, I see people saying, are you reading the chat? I'm reading the chat. I was in the middle of an interview, so I couldn't read the chat out loud. But I'm looking at it. Get them out first. Crank it up more. Okay, so everybody in my chat thinks ICE is on the right path. Interesting. Defund ICE. Okay, so we have a couple different perspectives. I see ICE is following the law and doing their job. That's what we voted for. Pax says, I don't think the illegals should be here. Yeah, man. So look, it is an incredibly divisive issue, guys, and it is a really tough issue. So keep leaving your comments down below. Keep letting me know what you think. And we're going to continue getting perspectives from people on the ground. We had somebody from Chicago. I'm going to try to get somebody in D.C., and I'm going to try to get somebody in Portland to call in as well. But yeah, that's my final word on this topic, man. I see we need to get the Somalis in New York City. Lee, I agree. I completely agree with that. Like the dudes who are selling illegal shit on Canal Street, the people peddling drugs, the people who were brought in during Biden's America to the migrant hotels and given massive incentives and basically welfare that the American people don't even get, getting money for food every day, spending it on alcohol, getting money for childcare. These are things that the American people aren't even getting. All those people got to go. Like most of those people kicking around New York City, sitting around the migrant hotels all day. I went to New York City in Biden's America. I walked around the migrant centers, and I will never forget the creepy feeling I got watching those people. A lot of them who are not fleeing from anything, not in search of a better life. They weren't born here and they're not helpless. These are people just willingly abusing the system. Let's not get it twisted. There are many of those people who have to leave expeditiously. They need to leave now. I don't want any of those people in any country, whether it's Canada, whether it's the United States. We don't need people leeching off the system. But again, there's a big difference between the guy who's leeching off the system, a big difference between him, a drug kingpin, and the gardener. Those are three different things that are being handled the same. I see, I'd rather my tax money helped American citizens. Irene, that's my favorite comment. That's my favorite comment. Let's hop over to the next clip, guys, and we're going to revisit this. I'm going to keep reading your comments down below. Let's get this stream heated up, man. Make sure to hit the like button. Send it to a friend. Let's keep the conversation going. We have a clip of Joe from the same episode talking about the Epstein files, so I did just want to pop into this. This seems to be a continued topic here on the stream, the Epstein files. And it's really always a hot topic, really at all times. So let's go ahead and take a listen to see what Joe has to say. I have a feeling Joe is starting to come around on this issue too now. Because Joe, look, we have to remember, Joe kind of had to play it cool for a little while because he helped Trump get elected. So Joe's not going to help Trump get elected and then come out and be like, oh, I'm against everything now. So, but he needed some time. But now let's take a listen to hear what he actually has to say.
No, it going on? What's...
Shout out Duncan Trussell, by the way. I love this guy.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Why don't they release that fucking list, huh? I don't mean to divert this to the Epstein list. I just meant to ask you, isn't it weird?
Yes, you do, Duncan. Duncan, we know full well you went on Rogan and you wanted to divert to the Epstein list, and that's okay. Because Duncan is one of the few people who can actually get through to Joe. Every time there's one of these Joe Rogan revelation clips where he has a great take, it's on a Duncan episode. Duncan, you're a special soul. Okay, let's listen.
Divert this to the Epstein list. I just meant to ask you, isn't it weird?
It's a little odd.
What's going on? I keep thinking, what could be in that list? What's in there? What bit of information is in there?
Well, here's the thing. Like the list.
Probably high-level people being pedophiles would be my... You know, I'm going to take a wild guess. My hypothesis would be that what's in there is probably people that don't want to be known as pedophiles being called pedophiles. That's, again, just a wild guess as to what's in the Epstein files. I would imagine that's what's in it.
What's in there? What bit of information is in there?
Well, here's the thing. Like the list is, it's probably, they probably don't have like a list in terms of like, you have to sign up when you go to the island. You know what I mean? Like, but they know the flight logs.
Right.
Like, that's all public knowledge, right? Isn't it?
All I know...
But hasn't it always been public knowledge in terms of, like, when people want to investigate things? Like, if you go on a plane, say if you fly on a private plane, which most of these guys do, you tell everyone knows who's on the plane. Like, you have to give your ID. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have to give my ID all the time even if you're on a private jet. So they know who's on the planes. They know. Like there should be a flight manifest, and like, they probably save those. And like that, the fact that, and no one's saying that just because you went there, you didn't do it doesn't mean you necessarily did a heinous crime, because I think you can't just have it chaos over there. I bet it was a real good honeypot, where there's a lot of sophisticated intellectual discourse. You got a lot of brilliant people there. You've got great music, you know. Mm-hmm. You got like famous people are hanging around too.
Yeah.
It seems.
Joe sounds like he was there. Epstein's Island has great music. Joe, what are you not telling us, Joe? Dinner was great. The music was phenomenal. They had a mariachi band. I liked the dude who was spinning the fire torches. You know, like the tiki torches, and he had like a little leaf skirt on, and that was my favorite attraction on Epstein's Island. I got it on Groupon when I went to Epstein's.
I bet it was a real good honeypot, where there's a lot of sophisticated intellectual discourse. You got a lot of brilliant people there. You've got great music, you know. Mm-hmm. You got like famous people are hanging around too. Yeah. It seems really cool.
Great music is crazy.
And then, if there's blackmail, the blackmail is like snuck into all this.
Yeah.
Snuck in, come to the room with the cameras. And next thing you know, you're doing cocaine. Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But, you know, you never get to an island.
Yeah.
You don't get to do this very often. I mean, I'm so busy with my CEO job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but that doesn't really add up, because the people on the island were rich as fuck. Like, we're talking about millionaires and billionaires. So, like, the idea that this is somehow a novelty to them, flying on private jets, going to private islands, that wasn't a novelty for the people on Epstein's Island. I'm interested in the picture Joe is trying to paint here. I have to just resist for like 2 minutes and listen. Interesting picture he's trying to paint.
Room with the cameras, and next thing you know, you're doing cocaine. Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this, but you know, you never get to an island.
Yeah.
You don't get to do this very often. I mean, I'm so busy with my CEO job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man.
And then next thing you know, you're donating money to whatever the fuck they tell you to.
But it's like, how many senators just voted against releasing this shit, man? It's just it's like there's two votes that are happening. The UFO disclosure thing, they keep voting against that.
Yeah.
And the Epstein list, they keep voting against that.
Right.
What? And also, politically, it can't serve you to talk about a bad list. The list of people who said, let's protect people who like have done horrific shit to kids. You don't want to be on that list. But whatever's on that list must be so destabilizing 51 to 49.
Okay, the Senate voted 51 to 49 to defeat an amendment that would have forced the Department of Justice to release all files related to Jeffrey Epstein. The vote was largely along party
Both
lines,
sides.
with 2 Republicans joining all Democrats in supporting the amendment.
Oh, wait, not both sides. It was it's the Republicans voting against this shit.
That's crazy. 51 to 49, they voted to keep the Epstein files hidden. I feel like this is America's wake-up call. That's kind of what the Epstein list is to me. If you don't realize that the American government has been protecting pedophiles, not only, by the way, for the past decade with this situation, but for a long, long time before that, this is your wake-up call. This is like the alarm going off. Because it couldn't be any more clear than this. And, you know, this to me is a really revealing time when it comes to America. I'm fascinated by America. You know, that's why I do these streams. I'm absolutely fascinated by the country. But this to me is a really big sort of eye-opening thing when it comes to looking at the state of the country. Because now we're seeing who's okay with what. And I think it's been like that for quite some time, but really now, when we're actually seeing a little bit of a peek of the inner workings of this machine and the way they shield people and they protect people, heinous criminals, pedophiles, killers. The people who are still like really political fans, like, fuck yeah, MAGA, Trump's our savior, Trump's the GOAT. Like those people now, it's kind of suspicious to me. And this is like a really good time to look at people and see what they're willing to accept. You know, this administration very obviously covering up for pedophiles. Very obviously. Whether you're a fan of Trump or not. This isn't a political thing. If it was Joe Biden, which it was, I would say the same thing. He covered it up too, by the way. I mean, there were judges that were trying to get this released while there was other presidents as well, and it was blocked. So it's all of them. You know, it's not a situation where you can pick and choose really who's involved and who's not. In my opinion, the United States government is heavily invested in protecting sexual predators. That's a fact. So do with that information what you will. Again, I think it's very revealing the people who are still like, fuck that, it's MAGA. I mean, do what you will, bro, but that's concerning to me.
It says 2 Republicans joining the Democrats in supporting the amendment to defeat it. So why are the Democrats interested in defeating it?
Well, let's ask. No, I think this is saying that the Democrats want it to come out and the Republicans don't.
Okay.
And party lines. Let's ask Perplexity why
Chat,
won't
there's over 200 people in here? I thought there was nobody watching. The chat is so quiet. Shout out the chat, man. Make some noise. Don't be shy.
they release the
Smash the like, too.
So I was gonna. There's Eric Swalwell, who's I guess.
I read it wrong. Read it wrong. No, okay. So the Democrats were not. The Democrats were pushing this. The Republicans fought against it. Okay, I fucked that up. So 51 to 49 is crazy. So they just voted along party lines. So they're probably told to do this.
Right. So what the fuck's in there, man?
Well, so then they've been. Not only is the government shut down right now, I think that might affect it some, but they're at recess. Congress is. And so this Eric Swalwell said this stuff today. Again, it might not be true, but
It's coming to an end, guys. I've spoken to a lot of House Republicans this week, and they confided that Trump's movement support is fading. As one told me, this Epstein bomb is about to drop, and no one wants to defend a pedo protector. It's just a matter of time, Swalwell said in a thread. One Republican just texted me that if there's a discharge vote on Epstein, they expect a jailbreak of over 100 members. Trump will go nuts, he added.
so they said this further goes on to say that if they get back, that this is the first thing on the docket, and that's sort of what's holding them back in recess right here.
Wow. We are watching wild history in real time.
Dude.
This is a wild scene.
I was just going to say the same thing to my chat. This shit is crazy. This is insane.
My God, dude, you don't want to, did you listen to Martyr Maid's episode on Epstein?
I've listened to it.
Woo!
I didn't finish it, but I get creeped out by that guy.
It was the creepiest few fucking
Did you ever
weeks.
talk to Weinstein about him? Weinstein met him.
About Daryl?
No, Epstein. Weinstein.
Oh, thank God. That's how you were about that. I think he's just such the best.
I love Daryl too.
Okay, cool.
About Epstein, he met him.
Dude, what the fuck? What did he say it was like?
Yeah, Joe's talking about Eric Weinstein. I've seen those podcasts too. So Eric Weinstein met Jeffrey Epstein, and basically what he said was that, because this dude was a financier, he was involved in different, firms and different places in New York. He was an actual financier and worked with actual financiers. This dude met Jeffrey Epstein, and he said this dude was clueless about money. That's the thing that this Weinstein guy said the first time he met Epstein. He was like, I met Jeffrey Epstein. I came in contact with him. And within 10 minutes, we can pull that clip in a second. Within 10 minutes, he knew this guy is not a financier. He knows nothing about finances. And he got a strong sense, he said, that this person, Jeffrey Epstein, was not the person they were claiming to be. And that's, again, proven. There's no financial records of any trading or any financial things with Jeffrey Epstein. There's no paper trail. He was not a financier. He legitimately was not a financier. There's no evidence of him being one. It's just what they said. Insane to think about.
He said he had a girl on his lap while they talked. The girl was like 21 years old. And I think he said she was Asian. I don't remember, but he said she was really beautiful. And she was sitting on his lap, and he was bouncing her up and down while they were talking. So they're talking about finance, and her boobs are juggling. So he goes, she wasn't underage or anything. She was a woman, but she was sitting on his lap, and he was bouncing her around, and her boobs were bouncing in his face while they were while they're trying to concentrate on whatever the fuck they're talking
Some
about.
David Lynch shit right there, man. That's some.
Oh, that just gave me like creepy chills. Like not goosebumps in a good way, but like, oh, that's so creepy, man. And this dude was tied in with the most powerful people in the world. This dude was tied in with the royal family. It's crazy, too, to think about the stuff that we do know about Epstein, by the way. The stuff we do know about Epstein is so egregious. Imagine the stuff we don't know still. Just imagine the stuff that's actually in those files, the things that are documented that we don't know about that Jeffrey Epstein did. That makes your skin crawl, just to think about. At least for me. I mean, I feel like we have this perception that we have so much information, but really we don't. I don't think we know much about this situation, if anything. They make the documentaries. They make all this stuff to make us feel like we're informed. We don't know shit about Epstein.
David Lynch shit.
Yeah.
Just jiggling boobs in front of you. Like, wow. That is so fucked up.
And Eric said, like, right away, his vibe was that this guy was a construct. Because Eric is all like,
we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, guys. For anybody who just joined, this is Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell talking about the political battle around the Epstein files being released. This is the clip here.
What do you mean construct? What do you mean construct?
like a fucking agent.
Oh, right.
He was like, this guy does not come off as a financial expert at all.
Right.
And Weinstein is an economist.
Dude, it's just...
Well, he's a mathematician, right? He worked for Peter Thiel. He was can you give me some of that coffee, brother?
Yeah, sure. Peter Thiel.
I think he was a math teacher.
Math teacher.
It's my Palantir hat.
And then he became whatever.
I misspoke earlier when I said Weinstein was a financier. He wasn't a financier himself, but he was in that world.
Worked for Peter Thiel. He was can you give me some of that coffee, brother?
Yeah, sure. Peter Thiel.
I think he was a math teacher.
Math teacher.
It's my Palantir hat.
And then he became whatever he became.
Well, he's not a dumb dude at all. And if he thinks the guy was fake, like right away, that's his instinct. like initially. I think the problem is a lot of those guys wanted him to be real because what fun. What fun. You get to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody thinks it was kids, and there probably was a lot of that because
Definitely.
I don't know what the actual accusations have been because the wildest thing about the Ghislaine trial is like she went to jail for trafficking to who knows who. The fact that you could just put her in jail and who'd you traffic to? Like none of that gets out in the trial at all? That's crazy. And they do it right in front of your face.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
So you don't know we hear it was underage girls. We know that some of them were underage for sure. And then we also know that some of them were not underage. They were young women. And you know, they all have, like, one of them wound up dying recently. One of them that's been a whistleblower died.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine you're a young girl and you're fucking broke, and then you meet that guy and he invites you to go on a fucking island somewhere or party somewhere, and you're hanging out with all these fucking creeps, and then years later, when all it starts coming out, what happened, you go public and you don't have any money. You don't have any money. And you got these fucking billionaire sharks who want to take you out.
Yeah.
Because...
Look at Joe's face, dude. He's so intense right now. I feel like Joe's almost coming across as the old Joe here. Like, this kind of feels like an old episode of the Joe Rogan Experience to me. Like, I started listening to Joe Rogan, I remember specifically, it was episode 101. Episode 101 with Adam Carolla. That was the first time I listened to Joe. This is before anybody knew who he was outside of Fear Factor. And he would have Duncan on. So again, this was episode 101 when I started. This episode we're watching is 2,391. So we've come a long way from then, but this feels like a classic Joe Rogan episode. This is cool to see Joe coming out because I've been kind of feeling different about Joe the last couple of years. Like, I don't dislike Joe. I have a lot of respect for what he does. But I've had trouble looking at him the same because I felt like he's heavily compromised. You know, I hate to be like a broken record about some of these guys, but it's just certain things that they've done and said have really turned me off in recent years. This sounds more like the free agent Joe Rogan that I'm used to. Maddie says, are you actually live or are you rebroadcasting? Maddie, we're live. We're live and direct.
Take you out.
Yeah.
Because you sucked their dick.
Yeah.
30 years ago or whatever it was. Yeah. That's got to be terrifying. Lawmaker claimed the files included one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including...
Magician? Well, it's not going to be that hard to figure out who the magician was, right? It's either David Copperfield. There's like 3 guys it could have been if it's a magician. A high-profile magician? I feel like they're kind of giving us the list. So one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince. It can't be that hard to figure out who these people are, right? Who went to Epstein's Island? One owner of a car company in Italy. How many car companies are there in Italy? Guys, internet detectives, let's figure this out right now. Who were the people on Epstein's Island? If it was a magician, dude, was it David Copperfield? I mean, allegedly. I don't want to get sued here either.
Including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files.
A billionaire from Canada? There's like 3 of them. These are good leads.
A car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control.
Fuck.
Whoa.
Fuck. Yeah, man. See, this right here, this is scary shit.
Because this is how communism gets started.
This
is when they attack, they realize, like, this is, like, indefensible, and it gets to the point where people are like, maybe Mom Donnie's right.
Dude. I mean, but that's one thing that's beautiful about humans is that all of us agree, don't fuck kids.
Don't fuck kids.
That's a beautiful thing. If you want to find the thing that, like, that connects all of us. It's we really want to keep our kids safe. We love our children. And so if, as it turns out, and dude, you guys, if you want to have a dark few days, listen to Martyr Maid's episode on the Epstein files. It's not what he just points to other times the state has protected organized sex trafficking rings. Like, this isn't the first time this shit has happened. And so
that's what's crazy.
That's the scary part. If all of us realize that we have been funding and voting for vampires, sex vampires, essentially.
Do you remember the D.C. Madam story?
Is that the one that Charlie Sheen? No, that was
no. That was L.A.
Okay.
That was the lady who went to jail.
I don't really remember it.
The D.C. Madam story was this lady got busted, and she had a book filled with high-profile individuals from Washington that she and her ladies were servicing. Right. And then she committed suicide.
Well, it's a hard job. She probably was depressed. Yeah. DC's winters are tough.
I bet those.
Duncan going crazy. No, man, I mean, I think that's a very valid point, and I kind of mentioned that earlier. People get very hung up on Epstein, and I spoke on this on the streams recently about Diddy as well. With the Diddy scenario, the outrage was centralized around one individual. Diddy's a monster. Diddy got away with it, all pointing the finger at one guy. The Epstein situation is the same because all the spotlight is focused on Epstein and the blame as well. But we have to remember that Epstein, Diddy, whoever the individual is that is sort of the face of the operation, these people are simply the tip of the iceberg when it comes to who actually needs to be held accountable for these situations. There's no situation in this world where a guy becomes a Jeffrey Epstein by himself. There's no scenario where you become a P. Diddy in terms of being a prolific serial predator. You don't get to that level by yourself. You need a lot of people to help shield what you're doing, a lot of people to help grease the wheels. Pun intended, I suppose, for Diddy. Probably a bad, way to, say it when it comes to Diddy, talking about grease or oil. But seriously, you need a lot of people and a lot of coordinated effort to get away with something at this level. This isn't a scenario where one guy victimized one woman. This is a scenario where there was organized victimization, a network of victims, and a network of perpetrators. So that's the thing that people forget. People say, well, Jeffrey Epstein needs to be behind bars. Diddy's a monster. Give him the life in prison. Like I told you guys on the Diddy stream just 2 days ago, go check it out. Diddy goes to prison. Okay, that's 1% of the problem remedied. All those people who helped him do this are still roaming, and they still have the capability to victimize more people. Same with Epstein. All those people in government, outside of government, in monarchy, in Hollywood, all these people are still roaming among us. A lot of these people are probably in the White House. A lot of these people probably have different government positions as senators, or they're in the royal family, or they're in positions of power in the media. Whatever the case may be, and wherever they've shuffled over to, they're still out there among us. There are monsters who live among us who have helped orchestrate organized predatory rings. And it goes far beyond the people who have their photo in the headline on the front page of the magazine. It goes beyond Diddy, it goes beyond Harvey Weinstein, and it goes beyond Jeffrey Epstein. Now, my question is this: how are we ever able to remedy the actual problem if the people who are doing it are the ones in charge of investigating? That's my ultimate question. It always reminds me of the situation with police departments. I can have an injustice happen to me from the police department. I can go and make a complaint. I'm in LA. I get, I feel like I've been assaulted. I feel like I've had wrongdoing from an officer. I can go to the LAPD headquarters and make a complaint. The only thing is that once I make my complaint to the LAPD is then going to take my complaint. They're going to investigate it. And then they're going to come up with a verdict. So how can I expect the LAPD to hold accountable the people who need to be if they're the ones doing the internal investigation on themselves? Same applies for government. When we're relying on the CIA and the FBI to hold people accountable, we can't expect them to hold people accountable when they're the ones running the operation. How are we supposed to ask for them to release the Epstein files when they are the Epstein files? They're the guys who were helping keep this quiet. They're the guys who were providing this person who was supposedly a financier, who's never even set foot in a financial office in a business capacity, has no knowledge of numbers, no knowledge of anything to do with finances. He was rich somehow. He had all this money somehow. He had all these, assets. And there's only one way to explain it. It's that the higher-ups were providing this to him. The higher-ups, the people running the world, were enabling him to commit these crimes and covering it up as well. And of course, most likely, now we go into a bit of a conspiracy for this, but most likely also using him as an asset to blackmail people. And I really do wonder how deep this goes. I wonder how deep it goes with Trump. I wonder what they have on him and what it's making him do and say today as president. I wonder what it, has to say about, or what it says about, rather, the royal family still. But the overarching point is this. We can't expect government transparency when government is the one committing the crimes. How can we expect transparency on that? It doesn't make any sense. So that's truly why I think we might never actually get the accountability that we're looking for. The only way to get accountability in this regard is if we have another agency kind of like watching the Watchmen. We need somebody to govern the government. We need an entire branch of government that is not actually in it, running things and overseeing what they're doing, because the government, especially in America, has now proven to us, my friends, that they are not to be trusted. If the manager's not doing a good job, you go get a new manager. These people have their hands in some very disturbing places and some very disturbing things. So I don't think we can trust these people to govern themselves, let alone us, but especially themselves. That's what I would push for. If I was running the country, I would push for something like Doge, like Elon Musk did, but not for financial accountability as much, for moral accountability. We need like a moral branch of the government to make sure that they're not doing evil shit with their power. We can't rely on them to investigate themselves.
Those people are freaks. I bet they get down.
Well,
I bet they get down. I bet when they're done with all that lawmaking bullshit, at the end of the day, a lot of them are young. A lot of them are just in it for, they can't believe they're hanging out at the real deal. They're really a congressperson.
Fuck yeah.
They're really a staffer.
Listen, I don't mind. I want my politicians to fuck. I don't want them to be sexless fucking androids up there.
They just want war.
Just don't fuck kids.
Yeah.
But
we need to know what actually happened, because maybe some of these guys just got prostitutes on that island. Maybe, who knows what levels he was doing this at. There was probably a bunch of people that weren't depraved, but he wanted dirt on them, right? And then there's people that are depraved. Like, you've got probably multiple layers to what he was doing.
Okay, but I think it's safe to say, and it's not even conspiratorial, the current system of how we elect our leaders is based on money. You need donors, right?
100%.
So that is a kind of legal bribery. You give enough money to this politician or that politician, and it's not like you own them, but they know you gave them all this money, and they know they want to run again. They also know that you've got your own constituents, and you have a lot of control, network of bots that you could easily unleash on the internet. And so I think it's a safe bet that it's highly likely that it's donors who are on that list and who are compromised for real, who are exerting massive amounts of pressure on the federal government to not release those fucking files. But and it could be that it's an existential threat. It could be that it would cause so much tumult that it could lead to an actual uprising. It could lead to like a bunch of us with torches standing around the fucking castle, ready to burn the vampire out. And I think that must be it, because if I'm a career politician, dude, I don't want to vote against releasing something that is if there are monsters among us, we need to know. Dude, in my neighborhood, we got a scary ass fucking letter. Sex offender. If you're just a basic bitch sex offender and you move anywhere in Texas, mass mail goes out with your picture on it and your fucking address. You know what I mean? So why is it that there are these very same people who are working right now, who are out there, nobody knows, who are...
Because they're running shit. But I like the way that Duncan phrases this. See, this is why I like Duncan. He doesn't come out... See, maybe I could learn something from Duncan, because I feel like I can be very on the nose, and it might be too much for people sometimes, because I really just call it like I see it with no pretense whatsoever. Duncan, the way he does it is he'll be like, well, if you were a politician who's honest, why would you not want to release this? If there's bad people out there, wouldn't you want to put it out if you're honest? And then he leads you down your own path of thinking, well, you're walking with him. You're walking, you're listening. Like, maybe they're evil then. See, I just come out, I'm like, these motherfuckers are evil. They're running shit. They got control. They're running the world. Duncan is like, okay, walk with me for a moment. That's why I like Duncan. If these people had something, you know what I mean? That's why I like his approach.
Actual predatory pedophiles, and our government is protecting them.
That's the other terrifying thing about the open border. In the name of compassion and, not stopping people from coming into the country, one thing that they think was a lot of it was sex trafficking kids.
Oh, yeah.
Kids.
Fucked up.
Yeah. That there's truly evil people in the world. Truly evil people in the world that want a child to do terrible things, and they'll pay a lot of money to get one.
Dude, this is why I go to Catholic Mass now. It's
like if you've never encountered real evil,
Catholic Mass, boy, you're really going to avoid pedophiles there.
Wouldn't believe that would be possible. But then when you find out
there goes my Christian base, by the way, for tonight's stream.
Numbers of kids that went missing,
dude,
that came across the border, the number of kids where they have no trace of them, they have no idea where they went. We're talking thousands and thousands of kids. Now, I'm not saying they all got sex trafficked, but I bet some of them did.
Listen, man, it's evil.
And if it's a person where there's no record of them, no one's going to know they're missing. There's probably some fucking dark, twisted motherfuckers that would give you a lot of Bitcoin for something like that.
Joe Rogan waking up, ladies
Thinks
and
the guy.
gentlemen. I gotta say, I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see and hear this version of Joe coming back, the critical thinking Joe, the question everything Joe. Whatever happened to Joe Rogan questions everything? That's what I would have to ask Rogan. What happened to that guy? The last year or so, I've just seen political corporate shill Rogan. And again, it's nothing personal, guys. It's just I've seen him going along and drinking the Kool-Aid, not asking the questions. I mean, even when he had Trump on his podcast, there was no pushback. There was no pushback because he was basically just starstruck. And look, I would be starstruck too if I'm interviewing the president, but you got to ask some questions. You got to push back. You can't just give a guy a 3.5-hour campaign speech on your show, unopposed. That's crazy. That's why I started looking at Joe a little bit different. I really was this past year. I was looking at Joe like, is this guy even for real right now, or is this guy some sort of mouthpiece for something bigger than what I'm aware of? I wasn't sure if it was government or what, but I've heard a lot of different rumblings about Joe, but most of it is also about the way he's conducted himself. So I'm happy to see Joe coming back. Seems like he's sort of woken up out of whatever he was in. And again, I can't go too hard on him and judge him. I'm sure if you're interviewing the president, you're invited to the inauguration, this is exciting stuff. Like, this is stuff that's definitely going to impact the way that you feel and your outlook. So shout out to Joe Rogan, and we'll keep covering this.
Canada.
All I know is I don't think we're ever getting those Epstein files. I really don't. I don't think we're ever getting the Epstein files. There's no chance in hell about it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the chat or in the comments if you're currently watching the recording. We're going to hop over to our next story now. So we talked a little bit about the Canada bills that are passing now, the new censorship bills. So bills C2, C8, and C9. Now, Canada has passed a lot of different bills. A lot of different censorship. One of the main ones that's out there right now, I just want to make sure I'm getting the name of the bill right, because they're all C and then a different number. Yeah, C11 is the bill. I just wanted to make sure. So Canada is introducing the new bills. I just wanted to show you guys what the censorship bills actually look like currently in Canada, because I am in Canada at the moment broadcasting. So Bill C11, this was the main one that was just passed for censorship, which prevents Canadians from looking at many different international news sites. So for example, here, this is me on my Instagram out of Canada right now, looking up Fox News Radio on Instagram. Because of this bill, C11, of which they're adding more to now, I actually can't look at this as a Canadian. So if you look at this here, I don't know how well you guys can see that. It says people in Canada can't see this content. This is on the Fox News Radio on Instagram. So this is what I see as a Canadian when I go to look at many American news sites and many international news sites from the UK and many other countries. It says, in response to Canadian government legislation, news content can't be viewed in Canada. So if you didn't think that was bad enough, I always like to show people that, because I don't think a lot of people really understand the scope of censorship that we're actually dealing with here in the country. If we didn't think that was bad enough, well, we have even more. Bills C2, C8, and C9 will effectively make Canada a police state by Christmas, as this gentleman here is speaking on. So let's take a listen.
Canada will be a police state by Christmas if Parliament passes bills C2, C8, and C9 in their current form. C2 is the Strong Borders Act. It should be called the Strong Surveillance Act. It empowers Canada Post to open letter mail without a warrant. It criminalizes the use of cash in amounts greater than 10,000. And it empowers a vast army of government officials, not just police, to conduct warrantless searches of the computers and cell phones of Canadians. It is a massive invasion of privacy. It's extremely dangerous. We then have Bill C9, which is the Combating Hate Act, and this legislation is going to result in many more Canadians getting prosecuted, not over something that they've done, but on the basis of something that they have said or written. Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act, gets rid of an existing requirement that hate speech prosecutions need to be reviewed by the Attorney General. And it also gives judges authority to impose much longer sentences, jail sentences on people if the judge feels that hate was part of the motivation in the commission of the crime. Bill C9 still does a terrible job of defining the emotion of hate And so there's lots of discretion left in subjective feelings of police officers, Crown prosecutors, and judges.
So police officers in Canada soon and judges will be able to decide what is hate speech and what's not. So this is, again, why these bills are incredibly dangerous. This is not like a set standard that they have, set for each case. This is now whatever the person who's prosecuting you decides. This is now whatever the cop feels that day and whatever the judge feels that day. That is identified as hate speech. So basically we're becoming the UK in Canada, where you're going to go to jail just for talking or just for liking a post or just putting something up on Facebook.
So that's a serious problem. There have been warnings that the Online Harms Act, which prior to the last election was known as Bill C-63, might be reintroduced. If the Online Harms Act is brought back and passed into law, you're going to see the Canadian Human Rights Commission with massive new powers to prosecute Canadians over offensive non-criminal speech with penalties up to $50,000. You're going to see digital safety.
$50,000 penalty for offensive speech, folks. That's where we're at in Canada. $50,000 fines for offending somebody.
New powers to prosecute Canadians over offensive non-criminal speech with penalties up to $50,000. You're going to see a digital safety commission with a vast army of bureaucrats to enforce federal regulations that are passed in respect of the internet and internet contents. And you're going to see Canadians punished preemptively because their neighbor fears that they might commit a hate speech crime in future. The Online Harms Act would authorize judges to place Canadians under house arrest and wear an ankle bracelet in respect to curfew, etc.
Is this for real right now? House arrest? Hold on a second. What do they mean preemptive? Before you even do it?
Of course, federal regulations that are passed in respect of the internet and internet contents. And you're going to see Canadians punished preemptively because their neighbor fears that they might commit a hate speech crime in future. The Online Harms Act would authorize judges to place Canadians under house arrest and wear an ankle bracelet in respect to curfew, etc. People who have not been charged with any offense or convicted of any offense. So preemptive punishment is actually part of the Online Harms Act.
Wow.
Now, last but not least, currently before the House of Commons, we have Bill C-8, the Cybersecurity Act. This gives federal cabinet ministers the power to kick individual Canadians off the internet.
Bro, what is happening right now? This is insane. And see, this is what scares me as, again, I am a Canadian who no longer lives in Canada. First of all, it's a good thing I don't live in Canada anymore because I'm going to be the first person they lock up, okay? If they're locking people up for offensive speech that goes against the grain, Canada better get my cell ready because I'm the first motherfucker who's getting locked up with this microphone. But you know the thing that scares me the most, guys, is that I've tried to talk about this with other Canadians and I've tried to get their response on how they feel about this. And even more scary than the complete totalitarianism and authoritarian nature of this, which is terrifying, what's even more scary about it is the fact that Canadians don't care. The average Canadian, and I've talked to people about this recently, saying, we're going to have digital IDs soon. We're going to be a cashless society damn near pretty soon. We're going to have, we're going to go from having 20% freedom of speech to having 1% freedom of speech soon. You know what the common sentiment I hear from Canadians is? I don't really care. It's just, we're not born and bred to fight for our rights in this country. It's sickening. The way that Canadians got trampled, literally, by the way, when I say trampled, trucker convoy, horses, this is what happens to Canadians, my friends. See if I can find a better photo. When I say we got trampled for trying to stand up for our rights, This is what I'm talking about. People literally getting trampled in the streets by police RCMP horses at a COVID protest. And you know what the thing about this is, that it actually works. I was just talking to someone who said it's not worth it to protest in Canada because it doesn't do anything. You're just going to get put back in your place anyway. I mean, that to me, that's the definition of conditioning, and that's the definition of brainwashing. Canada's a scary place, man. And that's why I had to leave. I can't sit in a place where people are comfortable with that. The one thing I really admire about America is that for all the freedom they've lost over the past couple decades and will probably continue to lose, Americans are very much passionate about being free. At least the idea of being free matters to Americans. That's what makes me disgusted to be Canadian and ashamed to be from this country. The fact that the concept of freedom doesn't even excite people here. The concept of being a free nation, a free person, to say and do what you want as long as you're not hurting others, that's not even appealing to Canadians. All Canadians want to do is go to work, come home, and watch the game. That's all that matters to these people. I don't understand it. That's why I've been the black sheep at every gathering, every family get-together since the day I was born. I value freedom. I don't want to be told what to say and do. I don't want to be put on house arrest. I spoke about being put on house arrest essentially during COVID with the vaccine passports. I said I'm not going to take it. I was not allowed in any businesses. I was not allowed to go to a restaurant. I was not allowed to go to the mall. I was not allowed to go anywhere but the convenience store. That is house arrest. You're telling people you need to take a vaccine or you can't leave your home. This is the level that we're comfortable with in this country. It makes me sick. It truly does. The one thing I wish I could have is national pride. I travel all over the world, and people ask me where I'm from, and I say Canada. Do you guys know how bad I want to feel proud about that? Do you guys know how good it would feel to feel confident telling people I'm from Canada? But instead, I don't feel that. I feel like this country's a fucking joke because it's run by lunatics. And the people who are citizens, most of them are even crazier because they don't give a fuck what's happening. Even look at the way people vote. This country has been driven to hell by the Liberal Party. People keep voting for them. It's been over 10 years now. People keep voting for them. I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with Canadians. What is wrong with these people? Don't value freedom. Don't value a free society. Don't value freedom of speech. What do you value? Hockey? I don't give a fuck about hockey. I care about a free society. This is the shit that drives me crazy, bro. And it's why I had to flee. And look, guess who was right? Who left before it got this bad? Me. Who told everybody here it was going to get this bad? Me. Especially as a guy who does the internet for a living, I knew I wouldn't have my freedom of speech if I stayed here. I knew my career would be at risk if I stayed here. And God damn it, I'll give myself a pat on the back if nobody else will for getting off the Titanic before it sank. I think we need a little bit better situational awareness here. By the time the Titanic has the tip of the ship sticking out of the water, it's too late to jump. Should probably start jumping when it's about halfway capsized, quarter way capsized. You start seeing people sliding down the deck. that's probably when you should start getting ready to jump ship. Everybody here is going to jump when they're an inch from the water and get sucked down with the Titanic. It makes me sick. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm so disgusted. It makes me so sick to my stomach. I want to be proud of where I come from. But I still lie, though. Like, obviously, you got to lie, because I thought about it. Like, I was being too honest about it and being like, yeah, my Canada fucking sucks. But then I figured it sounds lame. Like, when you meet people abroad. Like, if I was to meet a German, I'm like, oh, yeah, Germany. Cool. So how's Germany? Oh, it fucking sucks, dude. I hate Germany. It's a joke. That's kind of embarrassing. So you got to lie. But that's how I've done it. That's what I've had to do to cope. Shout out to my boy Timmy. He said, it's okay, man. I'm from California and just beginning to be the same thing. Timmy, I feel you, brother, and I hope it goes well for you out there. I really, really do. So we're going to hop into one more story. Let's see. We had Joey Diaz, Uncle Jay, talking about, he put up a video talking about why he's never going to move to Texas. I wanted to play this because I took a lot of heat for a comment that I made on Facebook, which was super surprising to me, by the way. I don't know why I took heat for this. I put a post up about how I found it odd that all these comedians followed Rogan to Texas. And my statement, I believe verbatim, was moving somewhere because another man did is crazy, which I completely stand by the way. It wasn't in reference to Joey. It was in reference to all these guys who were moving to Texas to try to follow Joe Rogan. I thought that was super corny and weird. You know, I understand wanting to be where the comedy scene is. But because one guy moves out of Los Angeles, now all of a sudden the comedy scene is left? And then what they try to do is people try to act like it's a coincidence. So, oh, Texas is beautiful anyway. I always liked it there. When we all know damn well you just moved there to follow Rogan. You know, if Rogan moved to Denver, you guys would have moved to Denver. If he moved somewhere in Idaho, you would have done the same thing. So at least be honest about it. But this is Joey talking about why he says he'll never move to Texas. Interesting comment from Joey. So let's take a listen and hear what he has to say about this.
What's up with you?
Same shit. Just getting older. Went down to Texas.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking hot. Listen, no. No, it's not going to fucking happen, okay? I don't like the heat. Tony Montana don't like Colombians. I don't fucking like the heat. There's a certain heat I could take. There's a certain heat I'm durable for and I could rock with. There's a certain heat that destroys my fucking central nervous system. And it started growing up here in the summers with the humidity. When you're 13, 14, you want a little piece of nookie cookie, you walk up to one of Charlie's parties, and by the time you get here, you got puddles under your arms. I didn't like that.
I see in the chat, was it for the mothership? Yeah, Rogan's Comedy Club is definitely why a lot of people move to Texas. And the people who are actually involved in that, I don't see any issue with them moving. And again, that's why I got a lot of heat from my post, from some people who actually were moving to work with Joe. I wasn't talking about them. Like Red Band commented. Red Band never comments on my shit. I haven't talked to Red Band in a minute now. But he comments with some cagey response, as if I was singling him out or even talking about him. He's like, hey, well, I moved here to work and, this is where the comedy scene is now, so I had a reason to move here. I said, well, I didn't respond to him, but I'm thinking, Red Band, then I'm not talking about you. If you have a legitimate reason to be somewhere, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about following a man you don't know to try to ride his coattails. That's lame as fuck to me. And that's what a lot of these guys do. They dick ride in this game, especially Rogan. The dick riding for Joe Rogan is insane. And I know it because I was guilty of it. How's that, motherfuckers, for honesty? I was guilty of trying to ride coattails or trying to be next to this dude because he's big or all that shit to me is lame now, to be completely honest, because these big dudes are not coming to help you. These guys are not coming to give you a career. They're not coming to give you anything. So I don't care if it's Kanye. I don't care if it's Andrew Tate. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're moving to LA because you want Kanye to give you a shot and you're trying to meet him on Sunset one day and rap for him, you're an idiot. So that's kind of where my perspective was. So I don't know why Red Band came at me for that. That was interesting. I still love Red Band. I've nothing against anybody. I love everybody. I'm a big cuddly teddy bear at the end of the day, especially when I'm not on the mic. But that's what I was referring to.
No.
I never liked that. So
Humidity's different.
Colorado was low humidity, and I tried to live in that type of atmosphere for years, and I did. And even California has got 2 weeks where it's fucking unbearable. But the other 50 weeks,
Fantastic.
that shit for 2 days was unbearable. From the minute
And it was September. Like late September. Was that bad?
I waited, and everybody's like, it'll be 80 tops, 70 at night, because it does drop at night. That's the thing about Austin, Texas. I don't even know if it's a
Shout out my boy from Hawaii.
fucking desert.
Aloha, motherfuckers.
I got like an F in geography. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it gets cooler at night. All right, so I land at 4 o'clock. I mean, I left here. It was fucking perfect. Perfect the weather's been in New Jersey and New York City. Perfect. The way it's supposed to be every fucking year at this time. This is supposed to be, Yankees and Mets and fucking the Giants. Well, all those 4 teams suck, but it's supposed to be this type. It's beautiful. This is the type of year you come to New York. Right fucking now. There's a little window between March and May that's fucking gorgeous, but this is it. So I leave the airport here. I'm leaving like Zsa Zsa Gabor. Let me tell you something. I had checked, I look up the Austin 10-day weather.
That's true, by the way, about New York and Jersey. Fall time is the time to do New York. Like, I went to New York in July for the first time. And Jersey, dude, I was so embarrassed because I had a bunch of filming to do during the day. Like, we had a bunch of days of shooting back to back. I spent most of my time in New York City on camera looking fucking disgusting. Just a ball of sweat. Just looking like the humidity out there, just ridiculous. But yeah, fall time is the time to do New York City.
Right.
The 5-day weather, and the 3-day weather, and I fucking make because all the weather is a hypothesis.
Right.
Okay? They don't know more than you. They don't know more than you. Okay?
It's a complete guess.
They got the maps and they make it's going to be
pressure.
rain here. There's a 60% rain chance of fucking on Tuesday. Well, the Jets got 60% of beating fucking nobody. So what are you telling me? It's going to rain or not? But they always hinge you.
Right.
So it don't look bad. It's like when you go take your car for service. It's going to be 10 days. The tariffs, the Chinese people, right? They hit you with everything, and then you get your car in 4 days.
Yeah.
You look great. They knew you were going to get it in 4 fucking days.
But just in case.
Just in case. They hit you with the 10-day fucking rule.
Yeah, the weather's a pain in the ass. And you like watching the local news. So you could
The whole time. In my Uber. When I look at the fucking thing, it says 2 men got off the plane. Guess what?
What?
We're in gate like 12. Guess where baggage claim is? 10 and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those planes where you're like, I don't even need my inhaler. I made it to baggage claim. Guess what?
What?
I fucking look up and guess what? There's my fucking luggage. I take the luggage.
Oh, fantastic.
As I'm walking out, some Puerto Rican kids talks to me from the Bronx. I talk to him. As I'm talking to him, I press in the whole time in my Uber. When I look at the fucking thing, it says 2 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2 minutes is fine. Beep, whatever, $45. And then my card didn't take. So I had to go through PayPal, which is fine. I doubled it up through PayPal. So boom. All of a sudden the thing we've located, his name was Hector. All right. Hector will be there in 8 minutes. Whoa. You just told me 2 fucking minutes. I felt like, what's his name in that movie with Brad Pitt when he's a fighter?
Oh, Fight Club?
No, the other one when he's a Russian, when he's a fucking from Ireland. Snatch.
Oh, I just watched that this week.
How good is that fucking movie?
Fucking a great movie.
That's a great movie. But when the guy's cooking the sausages, and he goes, how long? 5 minutes. Hey, how long for the sausage?
We're going to skip ahead a little bit. I love Uncle Joey. I would say I'll probably go sit and listen to this on my personal time, but I want to hear him talk about the Texas stuff. Geo, man, we did an interview in the beginning with somebody from Chicago talking about the ICE presence in the city. So at the end of the stream, if you go back to the beginning, you can hear the interview there.
I gave that guy like a $50 tip.
Nice.
Because he gave me a towel and he had fucking cold waters with ice. He took it right out. He goes, I'm sorry. It's very hot down here. Put the towel on your head. I'm like, you're a fucking bad motherfucker.
Oh, nice.
He opened the windows. He had it perfect, the air. He's like, yes, it gets very hot.
Did you even cancel the Uber, or did you just like let him go, like let him show up? To be honest with you, I'm actually impressed with you that you knew how to call an Uber.
Doc, you don't know Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey's a traveling man. So now, whoa. Bring that beat back. Bring that beat back.
Watch out, cocksuckers.
So now I do my stem cells. It weighs too well. I do a spot at the fucking Comedy Mothership, which was a perfect night. My friend got sick, which I love her to death. I didn't give a fuck. And then I get there and I'm like, what am I going to do in this heat? What the fuck am I going to do in this heat? But we're going to go back to ways too well. What we're going to do in this heat? And I go, you know what? I'm just going to go home. I'm going home. When I got back to the hotel, the Uber dropped me around the corner. They were doing construction on 6th Street.
Oh, no.
Look, another batch of fucking sweat that attacked my body. I basically went upstairs. I was packed already. I just basically took a T-shirt out, a pair of shorts, and re-washed my ass because I'm not flying with a fucking muggy ass. That's not a good recipe.
No.
I fucking powdered the balls good. I put that betonate the powder. I save it just to go, no.
Oh, what's that?
Because in the flight, because when you have shorts, you have to really imagine. Listen, I'm a 62-year-old man.
Right.
It's like an old animal, okay? I'm that old bull on the fucking farm, okay? And I got a nice pair of balls and all the other things around me. You don't see them hanging too much. You know why?
Why?
Because out of all those bulls, my balls smell the worst, okay? So now I'm on a plane. Now I don't like wearing
This doesn't
underwear.
explain why he's not moving to Texas, but guys, I'm invested already. There's like 2 minutes left. Now I'm invested. I got to hear the ball story now. You know, we came for one thing and we left with another answer. I mean, look, we're getting some kind of answer still.
Underwear with a fucking pair of shorts.
Why?
Because it just don't work. I don't like wearing underwear with a pair of jeans either. But with a pair of jeans, nobody could get a whiff. But with the shorts, somebody's getting a whiff. I don't know who's sitting next to me on the plane.
You can smell your balls through the shorts?
Listen, if there's a dirty woman 2 feet from me, I can smell that pussy. I just have it.
Can't.
Oh, bro, please. I can smell a dirty pussy from fucking. I grew up over here. I grew up in Jersey.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was from the Coke days, Joey. Uncle Joey, you got your training. That was back in Jersey.
I'm trained to smell like if, you know, you could smell a smelly fucking dragon. You could smell it when you're talking to them. You're like, Jesus Christ. And it's not bad. I like the smell of vagina. And if it's got that wang to it, it's not bad. I'm not complaining. But you could smell it. You could sense it. You're like, oh, that's good. Okay. You know, whatever.
But that's not what people think when they smell your balls.
Not really. I'm 62. When I was 22, my balls must have been a paradise. It was like it's like eating a double cone. It's like getting a double cone ice cream.
Right.
You lick both the sides. One's chocolate, one's vanilla. Women love your balls when you're under 30. They fucking lick them to death.
Yeah.
Bro, Joey, chill. Holy shit, dude. Now that's a fucking visual right there. Chocolate and vanilla is crazy.
Coke, no
That's
Coke.
crazy.
They don't give it. They suck them individually.
I like how all this is going through your head on the way to the airport.
So no, it doesn't matter right now.
I love how this video is called "Why Joey Will Never Move to Texas," and he's just telling us the flavor of his balls. That, ladies and gentlemen, Joey Diaz, just standing ovation. Everybody get the fuck up. That's why we love him.
So
that's why we love him.
I get to the airport. Everything's going beautiful, but I had shot stem cell in my knee. And they put a Band-Aid on it. I had like a little boo-boo. And I really wasn't in the mood to fucking walk through this airport. But I'm a man, and I'm not going to take away a seat. First of all, they drive you around in a wheelchair. I don't want to be driven around in a wheelchair. If you got one of those scooters, you better throw that crippled guy out, because I'm taking that seat for the small 40. I'm taking that. I've done it before.
Oh,
some guy was there with crutches. I got one of those black dudes for $50 in Dallas. Shit, they'll clean up everybody everybody in the house.
Oh, the golf carts or something?
Yeah, in Dallas, the connections are deep. Chicago.
Yeah.
You have to take, before you go to Chicago, Dallas, always have an emergency $50 bill. Because if they don't get you on the way out, on the way in, they're going to get you on the way out. You're going to be in a pinch. And Chicago, $50 bills work best. They don't give a fuck if you're a cop. They don't give a fuck if you're a soldier. They don't give a fuck if you're in the Army. How do I know? Because I've seen it. I had my American airline ID one time.
Right.
And I put a 50 behind it in Chicago. I was on a line from here to Bulgaria. And let me tell you something. Some dude was, what's going on? I go, listen, I put the card on. He goes, get out of the line. This motherfucker walked me to my plane. People couldn't even get plane tickets. Everything was canceled. The small 50, that definitely gets their attention.
See, Uncle Joey's old school. A 50 in hand for the guy you need a favor from. That's an old, that's old school. That's before my time. I can't even sit here and talk like, this was my era. But I know this from like the old school Vegas days, from things I've heard, things I've seen. Back then it was a 20. I think now it had to adjust to a 50 for inflation. A 20 in hand, a 50 in hand will get you a lot of places. A lot of places with the door guy, the hotel staff, airport staff. People have forgotten that. I feel like it's the entitlement of today's society. People have forgotten what it means to have a small exchange because everybody just wants what they want, but they feel like they're entitled to it now. Excuse me, let me speak to a manager, and everybody's entitled. Everybody's owed something in 2025. We've lost the art. It's a forgotten art. The 50 in hand. That's a forgotten move.
They pulled me out of the fucking line, and I gave them like an edible. Once we walked through the line, I started giving them edibles and Gorilla biscuits. I gave them everything I had because you saved my life.
Have you kicked somebody off one of those golf carts? You stop it and be like, I need to get on. And they kick somebody off of a golf cart.
I can't lie. Twice.
That is.
I didn't kick him off. The black dude kicked him off. Not me. He's like, dog, homie's paying the tab here. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I remember one time it was this old couple. When an old couple that's white is a real pain in the ass, and they ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I pulled up, and I'm like, dog, where are we going? He's like, hold on one second. Folks, he put him to the side, and they're like, where are we going? He's like, another guy coming for you. And he called one of his cousins. All right, now we can do business. Get on this motherfucker. I'm like, stop at the taco place. Stop here and get me right to the fucking window.
Fucking hilarious. So, again, it doesn't answer any of my questions about what the video was called, why he's never moving to Texas, but I had probably even more fun watching that video, man. Shout out to Uncle Joey. I feel like Joey's in it's nice to see Joey in the place he's at now because he seems very settled. As a guy who's known Joey for a long time, I feel like he's spoken on wanting to get to the place that he's at for a long time, and now he seems to actually have gotten there. He's back in Jersey. He's back with his family. He's got the podcast set up again. He's got his wife. He's got his daughter taken care of. I mean, it's really beautiful to see where Joey's at today. He's got the book out. So I'm proud of him. And I've said this before. Joey did a lot for me and continues to. But he's done a lot for me in my life. And he's encouraged me a lot. As his little nephew back then when I was, 11, 12 years old. And he was helping me, break into the podcast scene. But that was his time to be proud of me. I feel like now's my time to be proud of him. When you get older and there was a mentor of yours who did a lot for you and they helped you a lot and they were really there for you, there's no better feeling than when you can grow up and then actually try to be there for that person or encourage that person or be in their corner. Not that it's a mentor role, but support. Just to support somebody, to show somebody love back who did something for you. So, as odd as it might sound, I'm proud of Uncle Joey. It's incredible. He's settled. He's got a great podcast. He seems to have a great circle of people with him. I got to get out to the States soon, guys. I've really been thinking I got to get to the States. I've been international. I've been across Asia. I've been in Canada. I've been in all these different places. I think it really might be time for the Cassius Morris channel to go to Chicago, go to New York. Maybe we go to Georgia. I have some people who've been wanting me to come to Atlanta. What city should I go to in America? What do you guys say? Should I go to Austin, Texas? Maybe we go to Texas. Maybe I go shake Red Band's hand and apologize. Red Band, I didn't mean to insult you. I have nothing against Texas. I just don't think that these little fanboys who aren't working with Rogan should move to Texas to try to chase him. That's all. I think you could agree with that, Red Band. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go to Austin. I'll go to the mothership, grab a drink, watch a comedy show. It's all love for Texas, but that message was lost in translation, I believe. But that's what we'll do. I think it's Cassius Morris Takes America. 2026, we'll do a multi-city tour. It'll be beautiful. So that's where we're going to go, guys. So tonight we've covered a lot. We covered Joe Rogan's reaction to ICE. We had radio host Mario J. Bell call in from Chicago to tell us his perception of the ICE protests happening in his city in which he was born and raised. Talk about his thoughts on Trump and the administration. We talked about where this is going to go for him. We looked at the Epstein files, the Canadian censorship bills. A lot of great topics on the stream lately, guys, and we're on every single day. If you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe, join the community. It's been so much fun. To all my new people lately, welcome. It's great to have you guys on board, and you're joining us at a very important and pivotal time because we are just getting started with this movement. This is the anti-media. I know I got a mic and we're on camera. This is the anti-media. We're here to shake the foundation of the establishment. We're here to shake the foundation of the podcasters, shake the foundations of these people tied in with government, and whatever the case may be. We're here to shake the foundation. We're banging on doors. This is our shit now. Look at me. I'm the captain now. You understand me? I'm the captain now. And you guys, we're all on the ship together. So make sure to sub up. Come join the movement. I'm so happy to see everybody here lately with the comments, the chat, the dialogue has been incredible. If you want early access to stream topics and interview guests to ask them questions, plus a backlog of over 100 members-only videos, hit the join button down below to become a channel member of Cassius Morris Official as well. That way you can get all those perks and also support my channel for just $5 a month. It's an incredible value. You get so much there. So many videos on there that I forgot I even made. Just full-on videos. I put a lot of effort into them. Do not miss it. Become a member. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't even know what the stream topic is going to be tomorrow, but things have been so crazy that I actually have too many topics. I don't have a shortage of topics. I have too many topics. Today there were so many topics. I had to do 2 streams. So make sure to go check out the other videos on the channel, guys. Thank you for being here. I love you with all my heart. Stay safe. Hug your family. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.